Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Max Velocity weather forecast. And in today's forecast, we'll be talking about a big pattern change that is coming to the United States this weekend into next week. And this is going to bring a lot of colder weather to much of the United States. In addition to this, we're watching for the potential for some snow in areas like the Midwest and the Central Plains later this week. I'll be giving you the latest breakdown on everything that you need to know in this forecast. And let's begin with what's happening right now in the United States today, and we will begin with the Northeast, and this is where we've had a small nor'easter move through areas in New York City, in addition to southern New England, and many areas have picked up between 6 to 12 inches of snow, stretching from Massachusetts back into New Jersey and Pennsylvania. But this system is very fast. It is moving extremely fast off to the east. It is becoming a bomb cyclone, which means that the pressure has dropped about 24 millibars over the last 24 hours, but luckily this will be out of the United States no later than tonight. And by tomorrow, things will dry out in the north and east with a lot of snow on the ground. Areas like New York City have picked up between 5 to 10 inches of snow today. So it's been crazy overall across areas like New York City, which New York City, by the way, up until this winter, they had about 700 straight days without an inch or more of snowfall in New York City. So that's pretty crazy that they've picked up 5 to 6 times at least more than that. So really crazy stuff there in the north and east. But after the storm moves through, drier weather is starting to usher in for much of the Great Plains and back through the southeast, and including the mid-Atlantic region. But what we'll need to watch for over the next 24 to 48 hours is a small little disturbance to come out of Canada, and that will lead to the potential for some snowfall across parts of the Midwest, the Great Lakes region, and perhaps back through the Northeast, with another shot of some beneficial snowfall. Many areas could pick up several inches of snow. I'll have a full breakdown for you on that here later in this forecast. Now let's talk more about the weather pattern that'll be impacting the United States over the next couple of weeks. And to check that out, we're going to look at the jet stream. This gives us an idea of the weather patterns that are happening across the United States. And notice right now in the upper levels, we do have a low pressure system again that's back up in the Northeast. That's more of a surface-based storm, but you can see the low pressure system in the upper levels just north of New England. Also a pretty strong jet stream back down in the subtropical region, so the southern tier of the United States. Strong jet stream if you are flying anywhere north to south, let's say from like Miami back up into like the Midwest. There is going to definitely be some turbulence with how strong this jet stream is. Once we go into Wednesday into Thursday, we'll have to watch for a small surface-based disturbance to move across the Midwest with some snowfall. Once we go into Friday into Saturday, though, that jet stream continues to stay pretty strong across much of the eastern tier of the United States. So a lot of turbulence if you're flying this weekend for President's Day weekend. Low pressure system will be back up into Canada, and this will actually usher in some colder weather for much of the Midwest, the Northeast, and the Ohio Valley. Below average temperatures will be returning to many areas this weekend back into the northern tier of the United States, all because of that low pressure system. By Sunday into Monday, things are pretty overall quiet for much of the United States. We will have to watch for some minimal activity back down in like South Texas, for example. We will see a little Gulf Coast storm kind of ride along the Gulf Coast as we go into Saturday into Sunday, so this upcoming weekend. And by early next week, things are overall pretty quiet in the United States. I do think we're going to ramp up with more activity later this month, but no Arctic blasts in the picture right now. This would be really the main cold blast that we're going to have probably for the rest of this month. And this is what we're talking about with the temperature anomalies. Gives you an idea of above and below average temperatures in the United States in the future. And any of the orange that you're seeing or red, that's going to represent above average temperatures, and blue is below average. So going into Thursday, cold air mass will start to build in parts of southern Canada and the northern plains. It'll become stronger as we go into Friday. So overall below average temperatures will usher in to much of the Midwest, central, and northern plains. It'll move into the Ohio Valley no later than Saturday morning. And eventually going into Sunday, that cold air moves into the north and east. But notice that warm air will start to come right back into the Midwest as we go into Sunday. So this could be a quick shot of cold air, maybe last 2 to 3 days at most for those in the Midwest and the Ohio Valley, and then we're right back to warmer weather. But that low pressure system back up in Canada will funnel a couple of different cold blasts. The first one will impact the United States. The second one, unlikely to impact really any of the United States. And if it does, it would probably be like northern New England or something like that. And then we'll go right back to the potential for record-breaking high temperatures by sometime late next week. So again, just crazy weather pattern right now. The Climate Prediction Center pretty much on board with this as well. Going into next week, so from Tuesday the 20th until Monday the 26th of February, we are currently looking at above average temperatures being likely from the central and northern plains back into areas like Texas, where a higher likelihood of above average temperatures exists. A bit more neutral across the rest of the country, a bit more uncertainty on whether we will be above or below average for temperatures. But stay tuned, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We'll keep you posted with the latest as everything starts to develop as we go later into this month. Now, in terms of the wind chills and the temperatures out of this particular cold blast, overall going to Friday morning, that'll be the coldest morning of the week, with wind chills being below zero across parts of northern Minnesota and North Dakota. Notice though, the main core of this cold blast is going to be back up in Canada, where many areas will feel 30 to 50 degrees below zero. It's going to be frigid up there for sure. Once we go into Saturday morning, it gets even colder. Many areas near the lakes can be as much as 60 degrees below zero. I think we can say if we're in the United States, we're pretty lucky that we're not dealing with this sort of Arctic blast, because that is really cold for this time of the year. Once we go into Sunday into Monday, things will start to warm back up. We'll continue to watch for Arctic air to kind of spin back up there in Canada. It's going to stay very cold up there. Luckily, the main core of this is going to miss the United States. The actual temperatures, this is going into tomorrow afternoon. Many areas in the 50s and 60s across the Central Plains. The Midwest will drop off going into Friday. Friday morning, many areas will drop into the teens and even some single digits. And then once we go into Saturday morning, that'll also be pretty frigid across the Midwest. Many areas in the teens and again, single digits near the lake. So it's going to remain pretty cold there, at least for the first half of the weekend. All right, let's talk more about the future radar, give you an idea of what's coming with the storms on the horizon. We'll begin with tomorrow. We'll be watching for a small clipper system to develop across the central and northern plains. This will bring a little bit of snow to areas in Wisconsin and southern Minnesota, and this will eventually move through the Midwest as we go throughout the late evening Wednesday and a Thursday morning. Heavy snowfall possible in Michigan as we go into Thursday morning. By Friday, that'll move into the Northeast. It's going to be a very quick moving system, so overall the snow accumulation is definitely going to be pretty minimal. By the time we go into Friday afternoon, we might even have another clipper system bring some snowfall across the Central Plains back just south of Chicago. Once we go into Saturday, that'll move off to the east, and we'll be watching for a much more active weather pattern along the immediate Gulf Coast as we go into the weekend and into early next week. And then things overall will stay pretty quiet, I would say, going into early next week. In terms of the Midwest, notice again, this is going to be Wednesday night. Snow will begin in Minnesota and Wisconsin. It'll really pick up as we go into the late overnight hours Wednesday and a Thursday morning. The heaviest of the snowfall will be located near the low pressure system, so just on the north side. So if you're in southern Wisconsin or even southern central parts of Michigan, that's where the heaviest of the snowfall will be. But again, it's going to be a very quick moving system, so overall the snow accumulation should be pretty minimal. And Friday morning, maybe a few passing snow showers in parts of the Midwest. In terms of total snowfall accumulation, this is just an early estimate from the first disturbance on Thursday. Many areas coding to 3 inches of snow across areas like Minnesota and Wisconsin. The jackpot region would likely be in central and southern Michigan, where the heaviest of the snow falls. We very easily could have some areas between 3 to 6 inches of snow. I wouldn't even rule out an isolated area over that, but again, pretty quick moving system, and it's also going to be wet snow. And then once we go into Friday, again, maybe a little disturbance could bring an additional coating to maybe an inch of snow across parts of the lower Midwest and perhaps even as far south as Kentucky. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit the like button down below and subscribe if you've not already.